We have a 2319. What's 2319, you ask? I guess I could let you in on this fun detail. 2319 stands for White Sock. I'm kidding. 2319 stands for Web Seminar. Web starting with the 23rd letter of the alphabet W, and Seminar starting with the 19th letter of the alphabet S. With that said, welcome to day 2 of our 2319, our web seminars. I'm your host for today, Chloe Yamil Velasco. To formally begin our event, may I call on Tulumanon's Marketing Department Head, Ms. Rhiann Dominique Griño.
A warm afternoon to everyone. I am Rhiann Griño, the Marketing Head of Tulumanon, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to all today to today's webinar. On behalf of Tulumanon's team, I thank everyone who took part in this project. To our partners, the Grishela Collective and the CKSC Senior High School Student Council, thank you for taking a chance on us. To our Tulumanon family, the backbone of our organization, who continues to support our initiatives, thank you for sticking with us for over a year already. And of course, to our esteemed guest speakers, thank you for taking the time today to impart your knowledge with us. Tulumanon was founded because of our initiative to help people from different walks of life. Today, as we all face demons that are no longer from fairy tales, but from the realities of life, we combat them not through swords, but through educating ourselves on topics within and around us. That being said, we welcome you today to our second webinar for TULUMONSTERS Inc. No doubt, we are near the end of our project. Still, we hope that what we all learned this month will be our armor until tomorrow ends. Maraming salamat po.
Once again, Tulumanon's Marketing Department Head, Ms. Rhiann Dominique Griño. On day 1 of our webinar, a recording of which you can watch by clicking the link in the chat box, we had the pleasure of having Dr. Jeanette Yu Chua discuss the monster that is anxiety. Today, we have 2 more esteemed speakers to do the same. I bet you're wondering which monsters of the real world they will be tackling. Our first speaker for today is a graduating Humanities and Social Sciences senior high school student from the University of Perpetual Help Malino. She is an honor student that has participated and won numerous literary competitions. She has attended workshops about the SOGI bill and gender-based violence, and even became a panelist in the University of Santo Tomas UNESCO Club's Kasarinlan, ang kasarinlan ng kasarian laban sa diskriminasyon at karahasan. Please welcome the Grishela Collective's very own, Miss Leanne Donguines.
Hi, good day everyone. You can flash my PPT na if you can. So I'm Leanne from the Grishela Collective. Thank you so much, Tulumanon, for having me today. Congratulations on your first anniversary. Kami rin, we have celebrated our first anniversary last month. So nakakatuwa tayong mga BB orgs which started this pandemic. So ayun, padayon sa ating lahat. Naririnig ka ako ng maayos?
Yes po.
Okay, so I also want to extend my appreciation to everyone here in this webinar as well. Shout out to my friends who came to support. Most of them are members of PGC and the Perpetual Light and English Research Club, which I am a president of. Ayan, heart react naman kayo dyan, guys. So this is my first time as a speaker in a webinar, and I've attended so many. I've been a participant, a host, and a panelist, but it feels surreal to finally be the one to share my core knowledge and insights. Therefore, I dedicate this opportunity to all the women who came before me and pioneered my liberty to speak about societal issues that were once considered too daring for a woman. What more to a young woman such as me? I don't think if she's here yet, but one of them should be supposed to be with us That's Miss Grisela Moses, the founder and director of PGC itself. She's an amazing woman who's all over the place with her advocacy. I'm honored to be recommended as a speaker in her place. And of course, special mention to my beloved mother, who's the very reason why I'm here today. How amazing it is that everyone in this webinar today and every human walking the earth was brought into existence by a woman, right? I mean, of course, there's a help from their own partners, but the woman, our mothers, she was the one who decided to carry us for 9 months in her own body and suffered the maximum pain of a person could ever tolerate just to have us in this world. So truly, how powerful it is to be a woman. So ayun, comment naman kayo dyan ng in caps lock, women. Yan. I'll wait for that. Comment kayo sa chat box ng caps lock of women. Yan, thank you. Before I officially start, may I request your consent, if it's okay, of course, and if you're comfortable, to open your camera. I would really appreciate to see your faces, especially we're in this pandemic, so it's really important to the social things that we're doing, and of course to foster an interactive environment. You may click those reaction buttons so I'll know where I stand. Feel free to leave a message on the chat box if you want to share some additional information. I would love to read it for everyone. Let's have an interactive discussion. Maybe I could learn from you as much as you learned from me. And if you have any questions, they will be answered on the Q&A portion. Na ngayon, ako muna ang may tanong sa inyo. So, next slide, please. And as a woman, what do you fear? So, para to sa mga kababaihan na nasa webinar ngayon, bilang babae, like it's specifically for women, ano yung kinakatakutan nyo? I'll wait for a few moments. Getting objectified. Being abused. Ayan. So, I hope that we keep on coming. But meron pa kasi isang question. Next slide, please. So, in the next question, as a man, ayan, bilang lalaki naman. So, if there are any guys here in this webinar today, ano naman yung kinakatakutan nyo bilang lalaki? So, we'll wait for that again. Basahin ko muna yung isang nadagdag ni Marika. Limit of freedom and choice, not being acknowledged. How about boys? Ano yung kinakatakutan nyo? Alright. So, baka, nihiya yung men natin today. It's fine. But my next question pa, syempre, we acknowledge not just men and women. So, next slide, please. Ayan, as someone who does not identify as both, what do you fear? So, ito ay tanong para sa mga tao na hindi nawala sa dalawang katangian na to. So, maaari silang parte ng LGBTQIA+ community. So, if there's someone who is part of that community, kindly tell us, what is your fear? I believe that this is a safe environment for everyone. Yeah. So, medyo cool. So, none. So, mostly women sumagot. But that's fine because mostly we would focus on women. But I'll tell you why. You see, lahat tayo ay may kinakatakutan. All of us have fears. But the threats to our lives are different from each other, depending on age, race, nationality, social class, and in this case, gender. Let's see how our gender affects the things that we fear as we go on with this webinar. Next slide, please. So, yeah, gender equality. I don't need to ask you if you've heard about this or let you define it, as the meaning is already on the words itself. Gender, it's often confused with sex. So let's differentiate the two. Sex refers to those traits that are biologically determined, which can be identified through our genitalia, while gender is based is used to describe the characteristics of women and men that are socially constructed. So take notes, socially constructed. Next slide, please. So by gender, we have this traditional gender stereotypes. This is what labels a woman to be polite, soft-spoken, nurturing, and emotional, expected to stay at home, do household chores, and take care of the kids. She is dependent and submissive to her husband. Based yan sa traditional gender roles. On the other hand, it portrays a man to be macho, outspoken, aggressive, and tough, expected to provide for the family, living the hustle on that 9 to 5. He is independent and dominant to his wife. All I can say is that thank goodness I was born in the 21st century where these gender roles are being gradually dismantled and relearned. I am pretty sure that we know at least one actively progressive woman and one wonderfully feminine man in our lives. That high chance of probability is awesome. So, of course, we should recognize that these stereotypes still exist. However, we have come a long way, and I believe that we still have so much more to do about it. Next slide, please. Thank you. Ayan, so we've already differentiate sex from gender. Now we go on to the next part of the word gender equality. Equality. It's the state of being equal, having the same rights, social status, etc. So together, gender equality is when people of all genders have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. They could be women, men, trans, and gender diverse people, children and families, no matter who you are. And then, in fact, if you believe in the equality of everyone, no matter what your sex and gender is, you can already consider yourself a feminist. So historically, feminism has evolved from the critical examination of inequality between the sexes to a more nuanced focus on the social and performative constructions of gender and sexuality. So let's end the stigma of feminists are angry women who hate men. Okay, that statement is not only sexist, but anti-feminism itself. Because feminism is the belief of equality of all, and that includes men and the third gender, which are the LGBTIA plus community. What we are angry about is the misogyny and self-entitlement of men and people who continue to enable it. So, next slide, please. So that's the root of gender-based violence, mostly what we're gonna talk about for today. According to UNCHCR, it refers to the harmful acts directed at an individual based on their gender. It is rooted in gender inequality, the abuse of power, and harmful norms. Example, there's a high probability that a woman would be catcalled by men in the PH streets when she wears clothes that reveal her skin. However, there is there's still a chance, until to no chance, that a man is gonna be catcalled by a woman in the Philippine streets. So another example would be, there's a high probability that a man will be given a task that exerts more physical strength compared to women because society branded him as tougher. So yeah, that's violence against man naman. Earlier was violence against women. And then here we have violence, an example of violence against the LGBTQIA+. There is a high probability that an LGBTQIA+ couple will be harassed in the Philippine streets compared to non-LGBTQIA+ couples because there is still a surrounding stigma that their relationship is labeled as unnatural. So those are just examples of gender-based violence, that this kind of violence only happens to women, to men, or the LGBTQIA+ community. But why is there a fight for gender equality in the first place? How did it allow gender-based violence to emerge? Where did it all begin? So yeah, next slide, please. Okay, yan. Um, Disclaimer, in this discussion, I will be focusing, like I've said earlier, on women in light of the upcoming International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. With the limited time given, let's try to scratch a little bit from the surface of the history, or should I say, her story of women until the present time in the Philippine context. However, rest assured that I acknowledge the violence against man and violence against the LGBTQI plus regardless. And I believe that gender-based violence is an intersectional fight for all genders. Okay, and then also trigger warning, there will be some mentions of sexual assaults in the duration of my talk, but don't worry, we'll not delve deep into it. Let's just make sure that there is a raise of awareness that things like that truly happen. And I stand in solidarity with all of its victims, regardless of their gender. So, rooted in culture. Ever since the Spaniards came into the Philippines, which instilled the image of a Maria Clara, which became the embodiment of what it takes to be a woman in that era, which is innocent, modest, and always abiding by the rules. However, what literature and history did not emphasize is that despite her perfect and beloved characteristics, Maria Clara, in both fiction and reality, was still subjected to, you may lower your volumes, sexual assault. She was not respected, instead objectified by men who supposedly established these societal rules to honor women, as they say. So, next slide, please. Here. But did you know that before the foreign came, we already have a civilization of our own, where women are highly respected as much as men? Pre-colonization Philippines was a feminist before that word even came into existence. It's a system that truly honors women. Let me read some excerpts from the La Mujer Indigana, The Native Woman, by Lorna Estoralba Titgimer. It's a summary from the lecture of Sister Mary John Mananzan. She is a noted theologian and author, a political and feminist activist who helped develop an Asian feminist theology of liberation and works with a number of organizations that deal with gender issues and women concerns. So next slide, please. Thank you. Although differing in name, so this is what the Native woman, according to that lecture, every tribe had its own religious practices who were preferred to men. But when a male performed the religious office of a Catalana or Babaylan, which is a high religious leader during the ancient times, he was dressed like a woman. So it's because women have a high standing in our society. Also, these Babaylan men could have been the first cross-dressers that was socially and widely accepted in their own community. They unapologetically practice feminine dance and movements without fear, as actually it's expected from him instead. There had always been there had always been an egalitarian relationship, not only between husband and wife, but also in the upbringing of offsprings. So egalitarian is the belief in the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. So it somehow intersects with feminism, right? Mayroon silang pantay na pagpapahalaga sa lalaki at babae, hindi katulad noong pagdating ng mga Kastila na mas gusto ng mga magulang ang magkaroon ng lalaking anak sapagkat niniwala sila na mas kaya nilang itaguyod ang pamamahala sa pamilya at panatilihin ang kanilang lahi sa pamamagitan ng pagmana ng kanyang apelyido. Ibibigay niya yan sa kanyang mga anak. And this is quite contradictory with the next description of a native woman, that when married, she did not have to lose her name. In some Tagalog region, if the woman was especially distinguished, the husband usually took her name instead. So it was common to hear people refer a married man as the husband of or asawa ni ganito, ganyan. And newsflash, in the present time, the law does not compel a woman to adopt her husband's last name after marriage. So, hindi natin, pag ikakasal tayo, hindi natin kailangan kunin yung last name, apelido ng mga asawa natin. But not everyone, every woman knows about this. So now, if you haven't known about this, I hope that you'll think about it and raise awareness. Next is the pre-colonial Filipino wife was treated as a companion, not a slave. So there were tendency during the Spanish era na kapag ikinasal kasi kayo, you were treated as a slave instead of a companion. So the pre-colonization Philippines was not like that because women enjoyed freedom in making decisions in a family. Her say was not only confined to domestic affairs like having a child or not, she enjoyed a key role in the economic stability of the family. Formal contracts were done only in her presence. So imagine that. And in politics, the practice of primogeniture with regard to inheritance, regardless of sex, allowed women to succeed their fathers as rulers of the tribes. So maaaring humalili ang panganay na anak na babae sa kasalukuyang katayuan ng kanyang ama sa kanilang tribo. The most famous of the women leaders of pre-colonization society of the Philippines was Princess Urduha of Pangasinan. Ayan, sa mga Pangasinan sa dyan, I'm one of you. She was supposed to be a beautiful Amazon, courageous and intelligent, possessing knowledge of languages and culture of old Asia. To summarize, the pre-Spanish Filipino woman, the mujer indigana, as said in there, had an honored position in the family and society, which was dispensed, natanggal, nung dumating ang mga Kastila, ang mga mananakop. So, ito ang kalayaan at karapatan, ayan, sinikita niyo dyan sa screen, yan ang mga karapatan na tinanggal sa atin bilang mga babae. At dahil dito, maraming kababaihan ang naghirap upang ipaglaban at bawiin muli kung ano ang nararapat para sa kanila. Next slide, please. So, isa sa mga karapatan iyon ay ang bumoto. Ito ay isa sa aking mga napili na bigyan ng pansin sa mahabang kasaysayan ng kababaihan sa Pilipinas sapagkat nalalapit na ang eleksyon. Alam nga natin kung paano natin naipanalo ang laban na ito, yung magkaroon ulit ng karapatang bumoto ang mga babae. Pero bago yun, alam nyo ba na ang kababaihan ay bumubuo sa mahigit kalahati ng ating populasyon worldwide? Kahit maaari na tayong bumoto ngayon, tumakbo sa isang posisyon, at magpahayag ng ating mga hinaing bilang mga babae, mas marami pa rin ang mga kalalakihan na nakaupo sa pwesto at gumagawa ng batas para sa nakararami. At ang nakararami na iyon ay ang mga babae. Kung ganoon, sino ang nagrepresenta sa kanila sa paggawa ng patnubay na pinakikinggan sila? So, since mas marami yung mga lalaki na gumagawa ng batas, so kulang ng representation yung mga kababaihan hanggang ngayon. So suffrage is the right of or privilege of voting and is frequently incorporated among the rights of citizens. So I cannot imagine how people deprive women to vote just because they think that she was not capable enough to make critical decisions, considering during pre-colonization in the Philippines, mataas ang pagtingin sa kababaihan. So binago lahat ng yun nung dumating ang mga mananakop. So in an article about a short history of women's suffrage in the Philippines, it states that hoping to ignite a suffrage movement in the country, American suffragist Carrie Chapman Catt visited the Philippines in 1912. So kasama ang mga kababaihan sa Pilipinas, si Concepcion Felix de Calderon, one of the earliest feminists and human rights activists in the country, and Purificacion Villanueva Calao, the founder of Asociacion Feminista Ilongga, together with many other women, created a society for the advancement of women. As Filipino women became more active in the political affairs of the country in 1912, Felix, together with other two women, presented a petition to the legislators to allow them to vote. The petition was signed by 18,000 women. And they were given the right to vote in 1930, pero nagkaroon naman ng Philippine Commonwealth. So they have to start all over again. So imagine yung paghihirap nyo only for you to go back to square one. However, In the 1935 Constitution, in Article 5, mentioned that the National Assembly may extend the right of suffrage to women if more than 300,000 women possessing the necessary qualifications shall vote affirmatively of the question. And guess what? The General Council of Women exceeded the Constitution's requirement of 300,000 votes in agreement of on April 30, 1937, they rounded up 447,725 votes in favor of women's suffrage rights. So, in-exceed pa nila yon sa kinakailangan. So, wow. Next slide, please. Ayan. So, Filipinas finally celebrated the success on September 17, 1937 as Philippine President. The Philippine Commonwealth, Manuel L. Quezon, signed it into law. It's been 84 years since women were given the rights to be vocal, political, and to make their votes count. Now, how is that for #HerStory? And to honor this woman who paved the way at naka-experience ng samot-saring violence against women dahil sa pinaglalaban nila, we must make sure that we will vote wisely this upcoming Philippine elections. At ang hinihiling ko sa inyo ay iboto ang kandidato na kasama ka bilang babae, lalaki, o parte ng LGBTQIA+ community sa kanyang plataforma. Niririnig kahit ang pinakamaliit na boses sa lipunan. Bumoto ka hindi lang para sa'yo, kung hindi ay pati na rin sa lahat ng mga babae at mga kasarian, sa lahat ng tao, para sa lahat ng mga Pilipino. Ginawa ng ating mga mahigiting na ina ang kanilang dapat gawin upang matamasa natin ang kalayaan na ito. Oras na para gawin naman natin ito para sa susunod na henerasyon. So next slide, please. So, in the modern time, so we have learned the history of women pre-colonization and how they were forced to compromise. They were stripped of their rights, which is a form of gender-based violence, upon the patriarchal rule brought by the Spanish conquerors. And their fight to reclaim their rights in the suffrage movement. So nalaman na natin yun. Now it's time to know the state of Filipino women in the present and modern age. So bear with me due to the limited time. Super in the surface level lang yung share ko sa inyo. But as I've mentioned earlier, we have come a long way from where we were before. But then we must still recognize the gender equalities, such as gender-based violence, still exist until now. But I'm blessed to grow up in a household where gender bias is little to none. But not everyone is blessed to have that. So we must recognize our privilege. Back in grade school, I was elected class president for the first time. There was no protest about it, nor especially because I was a girl. I won the votes because my classmates believed that I can handle that position. But tell that to a self-entitled man back in the golden age of patriarchy, he would probably think that there's no way a 7-year-old little girl could lead. Bakatawanan ka pa niya. But in that same class, whenever I have a hard time to quiet down my rowdy male classmates, some of my other classmates and even teachers would say, hayaan mo na sila. Boys will be boys. I believe that this is such a harmful statement. These children will grow up thinking that it's okay for little boys to behave improperly because they are given a free pass. But I would never say, instead of telling your girls to behave, teach boys to behave instead. No, we're striving for gender equality. So we should teach boys and girls how to behave properly and to respect each other. There are instances when they are told that something is not for them, such as the statements na may kita natin dyan, that is for boys, that is for girls, kababae mong tao. Bakit ka umiiyak? Bakla ka ba? Ang lamya mo naman o ang gaslaw mo naman. So these are really harmful. Hence, they are forced to partake in activities that they don't like. They could also be subjected to bullying for being too feminine for a boy and too boyish for a girl, which could gravely affect their sociality and mental health as a child. With this, children are hindered to explore endless possibilities and unleash their fullest potential. Next slide, please. So that would be a quote from the 16th President of the USA, Abraham Lincoln. Teach the children so it will not be necessary to teach adults. We should start young, teach little boys and girls. The quote is absolutely true as it's supported by studies that it's harder for adults to learn something new as their memory works quite differently from a child. But it's harder for adults to relearn something that they already know because of their sense of ego. It's even harder to correct an adult when you are younger than them. There is always the sense of superiority between the two. Kasi mas bata ka, mas matanda siya, mas marami daw siyang alam, ganon, which is wrong. Because learning is an ongoing process. Maaring may alam ka na hindi mo, na hindi niya alam, tapos may alam siya na hindi mo alam. So we must learn from each other. It's a continuous process. So newfound knowledge can be both from young and old, men and women, as well as beyond that definition, and whatever your social class is. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now we go to the very infamous, not all men. It's another harmful statement. Well, obviously, there are 7 billion people in the world and we're all different in some way. So, not all men talaga. It was a response to men are trash. However, being an apologist would disregard the issue in the first place. Because yes, not all men, but almost all women have experienced a sexual assault performed by a male at least once in their life. So there's a high probability na yung mga kababaihan sa webinar ngayon ay nakaranas na ng isang sexual harassment kahit isang beses sa kanilang buhay. And that's really alarming. According to UN Women, globally, an estimated 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subjected to intimate partner violence, non-partner violence, or both at least once in their life. 30% number of women aged 15 and older. So the given age 15 is alarming itself. What more is the estimated number of women here, which is 736 million? And I'm pretty sure na meron pang mga unheard cases. So the given age is alarming. Okay? So both men and women, and I don't want to be biased because yes, there are also women who contribute to the not all men agenda that is dismissive of the lives and consent that were trampled upon. Take note, I said consent instead of the dignity of the victim. Why? Because it's never the victim's fault, but the transgressor itself. They have ruined their own honor as a human being the moment na nag-violate sila ng kapwa-tao nila. So instead of defending these monsters, to the TULUMONSTERS Incorporated webinar. So instead of defending them, why can't you be an ally who can do better and speak on behalf of all men that you will try to do better and there will be actions and tangible results. So hopefully, magkakaroon ng decrease to none at all na sexual assault and other forms of gender-based violence against women. But I'm talking about gender equality as well, right? So because of this long history of women being silenced, oppressed, and violated for most of the history, the violence against men is often neglected. And with that, the suffering of men are not recognized. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Or hindi lang nag-next sa akin. Sorry. I think there was a delay in mine. So, other gender-based violence. So, we have focused our whole talk about women. But as I promised, na I will mention the violence against men and violence against the LGBTQIA+ community. So, for men, we have harmful masculinity and violence as well. So, boys learn to be men from men in their lives. from their own experiences navigating our social norms, and from the large social and cultural context. Boys live under intensified pressure to display gender appropriate behaviors according to the ideal male code. With this, we must know that patriarchy is as harmful to men as much as it is for women. So most of the time, there is nobody to teach our little boys that, hey, it's okay to cry, to depend on others, and to be feminine, and to not have a bigger role in the society. Kasi napupunta sa kanila yung pressure na you need to man up. Okay, you have to grow some balls. You know those statements, those very harmful statements. Kasi iba-iba tayo ng kakayahan bilang tao. Huwag nating ipilit sa ating mga anak na lalaki or kakilala ng mga batang lalaki ang mga gampanin sa buhay. Hayaan natin silang mamili. Katulad ng paglaban natin sa women's rights to choice and freedom. So men could also be wrongfully accused of sexual assault, violence, and other crimes, and that is not talked about enough as well. They're also victims, and they take much severe punishment in law for most of history and are expected so much more because they are, ironically, men. Research findings suggest the fear of crime-gender paradox with women reporting higher rates of fear than men. Kahit na mas malaki yung danger na yung mga lalaki ang victimize. Next is, of course, our beloved LGBTQIA+ community, which yung violence naman sa kanila is that nearly 4 times more than non-LGBTQIA+. LGBTQIA+ people are nearly 4 times, no? They experience violent victimization, including rape, sexual assault, and aggravated or simple assault, according to the new study by the Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law. In addition, there are people most likely to experience violence both by someone well known to the victim and at the hands of a stranger. So there are these are the data showing how many out of 1,000 people that are victimized that are actually part of their community, ayan, in their sites. They had higher rates of serious violence victimization in almost every type of violent crime except robbery, which showed no significant difference between the non-LGBTQIA+. And up until now, same-sex relations are still criminalized in 69 countries, which means that as of today, over 2 billion people live in countries where they are part of the LGBTQIA+. Being part of it is still illegal. So maaari silang ikulong, kasuhan, ganun. Because it's still not accepted. Imagine, 69 countries, and we thought na they are moving forward. So we must recognize these violence on them as well. So next slide, please. Ayan, we finally come to the countermeasurements. So I made these, ladies, LADIES. So I hope that you can try to remember it. First is, so learning about gender-based violence, mostly on women today, but also about against men and the third gender. So first is we need to learn your rights. So kung babae ka or lalaki or the third gender, dapat alam mo yung karapatan mo. Kasi like I've said earlier, it starts within ourselves. By knowing our history, where we come from, why is this happening, and the privilege that was given to us by those who pioneered for our liberty, we are already empowered. And next is awareness must be spread. So of course, it doesn't stop there. Yung alam natin sa sarili natin, we should also share it with others as well. We need a movement before we could achieve social change. So dapat maraming nakakaalam. At hindi lang alam, dapat naiintindihan nila kung bakit ito nangyayari. Next is delve into movements that enable your rights. So by simply joining this kind of webinar wherein natututo tayo sa mga bagay na ganito, you are enabling your rights. And also in joining organizations, movements, ganun, na-enable natin yung rights natin as a woman, as a man, and if you don't identify in those two as well. Next is involve the government by creating laws that, ayan, magkatugtong sila, enforce the protection of all genders. So we need the utmost help from our highest authorities kasi we cannot do this alone. That is why it's crucial, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, to vote for people who listens to the masses. Importante na mailuklok natin ang mga kandidato na nakikinig sa madla, nakikinig sa karamihan, at nakikinig sa kababaihan. Next is settle. Last is settle for the best interest at heart. Never settle for the bare minimum. Karapatan mo yan. So yung pagsasalita natin katulad nito, pagkilos natin katulad nito, pag-share natin ng information katulad nito, at ang movements na ginawa ng mga feminists and activists, we wouldn't have it kung wala silang best interest at heart at kung hindi nila yon isinagawa. And with the next slides, I believe na that would be the next slide. Last slide, I mean. Ayan. So I put there TGC, the Grishela Collective, and Sulong. Ate Grishela is also part of it as well. Nilagay ko yan dyan just to say na if ever you know someone who is sexually harassed or assaulted, pwede mo sila ilapit dyan because Sulong is a youth and volunteer-run organization that bridges victim survivors of sexual violence to pro bono legal advice, psychological aid, and other services. And as I finish these talk, gusto ko lang ipaisip sa inyo, like, what is your gender for you? Gaano siya kahalaga? Yung next slide is the sources of it. It's the source of all of my talk. So I hope it will also be flashed. So yun. Thank you so much, and I hope you've learned a lot.
Alexa, play Only the Young by Taylor Swift. Miss Leanne is evidence that knowledge knows no age. It is truly inspiring how someone so young can talk us through something so long-standing. Of course, these conceptions being around longer than we have is not a free pass to keep tolerating them. I too have had my fair share of internalized misogyny, something I'm not proud of. But I hope that something we can all be proud of is being open to learning and changing our perspectives when we are offered new information. Should you have any further questions about the topic, please send them in the chat box, or better yet, use the raise hand function. We have a question from Bien.
Yes, thank you again, Ms. Rhiann, for that wonderful talk. And I believe that being aware about these gender-based violence is already a huge step toward their eradication. And Tulumanon is honored to have you shed light upon this issue. And everyone here is more empowered with this knowledge, right, guys? Because I can say that I've gained a lot of insight because I see a lot of similar organizations talk about this, but having a talk specifically on this topic is another level of knowledge that I gain. So what do you recommend to our attendees in terms of the active participation and direct action to address this long-standing issue regarding gender-based violence?
Hi. Wait, di ko makita yung full name mo dito, Bian. Thank you for that question and for all of that you said. So what can I recommend? I think that it's really important that we use our own voice, that we are part of the conversation, and that whenever we see something that we recognize as gender-based violence, we won't keep quiet about it. We will take action na kahit nakakatakot. Of course, hindi naman kailangan natin na isugal yung buhay natin in the front lines. But of course, sa pamamagitan nun bilang kabataan, maaari tayong magsumbong sa mga nakakataas para sila na mismo ang gumawa pag it's something that we can handle. Pero kung simple lang siya, katulad ng sinabi ko ng mga statements na, ayan, you're too feminine, you're too boyish, ganun, we could raise awareness and by simply being part of the conversation and saying na, hey, malito, and let's correct this together. Thank you.
While we keep the questions coming, when Miss Leanne mentioned the statement "boys will be boys," I was reminded of my oral com speech last year, which is also about toxic masculinity, and I remembered the phrase, "He does that because he likes you." So adults who disregard the violence and take it as a form of affection, which is wrong. And I would just like to share my favorite philosophy by Mr. Martin Heidegger, Martin Heidegger's human person as a being in the world, which is he says that we have a world of our own, and that world is comprised of people within our vicinity. And the connections we have with these people define us. So we really do have the power to steer the young children, to steer the young away from these toxic mindsets.
You're right, Chloe. Can I add to that? Konti lang. So with that statement na, oh, he likes you, kaya he's parang, he's being violent, like that.
Yes.
Parang, tas inaasar ka, ayun. Parang, so, we can say na, parang dun sa simpleng mindset na yun, it could root to abuses in the household. So, pwede doon nagmumula yung, kung saan nagmumula kung bakit may mga abusive husbands, but wives as well, okay? So, yun. We should recognize both. So, kaya it's important na bata pa lang, tinuturuan na sila. Thank you.
I think that is all the questions we have. Thank you, Miss Leanne. Moving on to our second speaker, he is the Student Life Coordinator of Chiang Kai-shek College International Baccalaureate Program, a personal development teacher, an elected barangay official, and a certified public servant. He graduated in the Philippine Normal University with a Master of Arts in Education, major in School Psychology, and Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Social Science. He also received a Service Award in 2010 and a certificate in Teaching Special Education. Please welcome one of the founding members of the charity organizations Yes for Education, Kariton ng Pag-asa at Hapag-ibig, Mr. Mark Arevalo.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here, and I'm so proud. Wow, what an amazing teacher you have there. I'm so happy and proud because, for a fact that majority of you guys are my students, and, this is one of the happiest moment of a teacher to see the students taking part into the community and contributing something to the community. And I'm very, very proud of that. May I share my screen, my dear?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start. I usually start my day, my students know me, by asking this question. Kumusta ang araw mo? How are you doing? So I want you guys to use the chat box and think of an adjective that describe your status right now. Just, be honest. Hindi kailangan lahat positive. It's okay if it's negative, right? We need to be true to ourselves. Okay, don't worry, hindi ko na kayo mababawasan ng grade or whatsoever kasi hindi na kayo under sa akin. Sige. Sabi ni Bien, very productive. I can see it right today. Imagine even in a Sunday, you guys are doing this one. Good job. Good job. How about the others? We are 29. I have 29 viewers here. Exciting. Yes, to the other speaker, we have the same PPT background. I was really, feeling of kilig a while ago. Sige, you really did a good job, my dear, also as well. How exciting. Sabi ni Cheyenne, very proud, Chloe. Good job. Good job. Now, in order for us to answer that, let me show you this one. This is a mental health check-in wherein there's a lot of hearts. I'm doing really great. I'm doing pretty good. I need to reach out for support. I'm having a really hard time and so on. Now, I want you to chat in the chat box the color of your heart. What's the status of your mental health right now? So what's the color of your heart today? Orange. So I'm doing pretty good. Sabi ni Dien. Puro orange. Wow. Orange, orange, orange. Yellow. Sabi ni Chloe. Sabi ni Cheyenne, orange. Okay, it's so nice that we're all doing pretty good, mga anak. But as you all know, in reality, mararanasan lahat natin ng mga hearts na yan. Dahil tao ka. Right? In every day in your life, it's not always gonna be an orange heart or a red heart. Because in reality, it's not always a fairy tale. It's not always a rainbow. There's no unicorn, right? But what we're saying is this. It's okay to be optimistic, but let us still be realistic, right? That's a reminder for each and every one of you guys that it's okay not to be okay sometimes, right? It's okay to admit na, sir, hindi ako okay. All right, kung di ka okay, let's talk about it. Because tao ka. You have feeling. You need to validate your feeling. You need to respect your feeling. And once you know how to respect your feeling, you can also respect the feelings of others, right? Okay. Without further ado, as you all know, our targets for today are the following. The first one, I will share, and I do know that we all know what our topic is all about. It's all one thing is monster. This is like a hidden monster for all of us, right? We always try to put this monster in our closet. Now you're not existing, something like that. We are denying that it exists. But I do hope during today's sharing, I call it sharing, because I want to share my knowledge, but there are a lot of sources that you can, check. I'm not the expert here. I am just sharing my knowledge with regards as a teacher. Okay. To learn more regarding mental health, to value the importance of it. Gone are the days that we deny that mental health doesn't exist. Right? Gone are the days na kapag ang isang tao malungkot, ano ka ba? O, ano lang yan? Nag-break lang kayo. Right? Gone are the days sabihin natin yung depression is just gusto niyo lang mapag-isa? No. There are terms. There are terminologies. And we already know what are those terms. Right? So we validate. We feel, and hopefully we can feel how they feel and understand what they feel. The next one is to advocate for mental health. And I think this is the very important thing that you guys are doing. That's why I'm very, very happy. This is one of my advocacy regarding mental health. Because I myself also experienced this during the pandemic situation. Now, why are you here? It's a Sunday, Sir Arevs, and dapat nagpapahinga kami. Pero, I always believe in, everything happens for a reason. I want you guys to meet these two people. The first one is James Steffera. He always come on time. Ayaw niya lang nalilate siya. And then he lives in the United States of America. And then one time, papasok siya. Nasira yung train na sinasakyan niya. And he was so irritated. As in, my gosh, first time ako malilate in my 15 years of work. So talagang sa kanya, napakalaking bagay na nun. The other one is this, Crystal Brown Tatum. She is the CEO and president of Crystal Clear Communications. And before siya, malapit na siyang ikasal, all of a sudden, nag-break sila ng fiancé niya. My gosh, right? So that day, ayaw niyang pumasok. Both of them, they are in a very challenging situation. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na, sir, mas malaki yung pinoproblema ni Crystal. No. Right? Again, we need to validate emotions. We need to assure na it exists. Hindi ko rin pwedeng sabihin na si James parang malilate lang kami nga. Araw-araw kami nalilate mag-submit ng output sa online class. Normal lang yun, sir. Late is just a normal word. Pero, you know what? That challenging day, that very, very unusual day for them became a very glorious day for them because that saved their life. Both of them are working in the Twin Towers in New York City. And that day, nung na-late si James at nung hindi pumasok si Crystal, they're supposed to be in that tower. You see, there is a reason why everything is happening. One thing about our topic is that, sir, it's full of challenges. We're facing a lot of challenges. Yes, it is, my dear students. Lahat tayo, we're all facing challenges. And life without challenges, it's not life at all. Remember that. But despite that, we always have two choices in life. To be better or to be bitter. But at the end of the day, after every bad days, it will all pass. Right? Every bad day, there are people who we call friends that will help and support us and understand us. You are more prouder. Grabe na yung ano ko, more at prouder pa. Talagang more prouder, or you will be prouder. And you will feel more fulfilled kapag may nalalampasan kang challenges sa buhay mo. Right? Now, healthy. May I ask the audience, when do we say that a person is healthy? Because, well, hindi ata akong perfect na tao para pag-usapan ng healthy, right? Because, you know, I'm not that healthy in a bit. Pero what's your idea about being healthy? You can use the chat box, pero I'll just call people whose cameras are turned on, ha? But if you wish to turn on your cameras, go ahead so that I can see you guys, because I can only see Bien, Chloe, Rhiann, and Shayenne. If you can open your cams, please do so. All right. Shayenne, can you please tell me what's your idea about a healthy person?
For me, being healthy is being able to function day to day.
Wow, that's very nice. Function day to day. Marika just shared both physically and mentally okay. That's very nice, Marika. Ella, how about you, my dear? Ella? Sige, we'll go back to Ella. How about Rhiann? Rhiann, how about you? How do you define a healthy person?
To me, a healthy person is someone who has good physical health and both mental health.
Wow. So I'm so happy that you just mentioned the word mental. From the World Health Organization, my dear students, health is a state of complete and holistic well-being of the following: physical, mental, and social. Meaning to say, from this statement, gone are the days that we define healthy na wala ka sa hospital, then you're healthy. Right? Bedridden ka, then you are not healthy. Health or healthy people are now judged by three aspects of life: physical, mental, and social well-being. That is why are we going to ask this? Because there's a hidden monster that we need to discuss. And that is mental challenges, mental health challenges, and mental health illnesses. I entitled my talk today as the 5 Ks of mental health. I call it keep sane, and keep going. Kaya? Kaya. Remember that. No? Na kaya mo kung ano man ang pinagdadaanan mo. Hindi ko sinabing daanan mo lang. Namnamin mo yung pinagdadaanan mo. Namnamin mo. Sa bawat pagkakadapa mo, masusugatan ka. At sa bawat sugat, gumagaling yan. Except kung diabetic, mahirap gumaling. Pero alam natin na gumagaling yan. At pag gumaling ang sugat, magkakapeklat. At kapag nakatayo ka na sa iyong mga paa, you will realize that those scars are your gold medals. na nalampasan mo yung isang challenge at pagsubok sa buhay mo. Right? Now, mental health from the mental health basics. Mental health includes emotional, psychological, social well-being because it affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act toward ourselves, our friends, our family, and to our community. So in short, this is one aspect of being healthy, your emotions. It reflects kung healthy kang tao. So do you mean, sir, na kapag happy ka lang always, is that healthy? There is a word which we call masking. And sometimes we do that. We love to project positive things. Facebook is one example of masking. We just post good things about ourselves. Hindi madalang yung mga tao na magpo-post o gagamit ng profile picture na ang pangit-pangit mo. Right? As much as possible, i-edit mo pa yan. You will hide the pimple scars and everything, right? Because you want to be perfect, because you are projecting something. And sometimes we do that. That's the reality of life, mga anak. We don't want to see the negative side of our life. We don't want others to see that aspect. No? It's because of our image, our self-image. But at the end of the day, remember this. Ang mga tao na totoong kaibigan mo ang tatanggap sa'yo kung ano man ang profile picture mo. Ang mga totoong tao na tinatawag mong kaibigan ay tatanggap sa'yo ano man o sino ka man. Remember that. Now, from that same source, mental health is a state of well-being whereby individuals can do the following. The first one is recognize their ability. This is very important because a mentally healthy person knows his strengths or her strengths and weaknesses, her abilities and limitations. Pangit naman yung, kaya ko lahat yan. You are pretending again, right? We don't need to pretend. Remember that being plastic is not fantastic. Just be true to yourself. The next one is this. You're able to cope up with normal stresses. You know what? There are two types of stresses. Good stress and bad stress. But we all label it as bad stress. Right? We all label it as bad stress. Pero I talked to a friend who is a doctor. Sabi, you know what, Ian? Stress is part of my life because I'm a doctor in emergency room, something, ER. So talaga namang stress lagi doon, right? But you need to value every stress. Is this stress worth it? That is the question. If the stress is worth it, then solve it. If it's not worth it, leave it behind. Sometimes we have three responses to different stimuli. Like number one is, we freeze. Halimbawa, tatawid ka, may malapit na yung sakyan. Minsan, di ba, hindi ka makagalaw? So, freeze. Nag-i-stop ka. The second one is, we flight. Talagang tatakbo ka ng mas mabilis. Di ba? The third one is, we fight. Sige, if you define yourself as a superhero, you will fight that car. Right? Pero those three types of responses to stimuli are the things that we need to take note of. The third one is, can work productively and fruitfully. And the fourth one is, make a contribution to their communities. So, ba't kasama yan? I think now the fourth one is very important. It's because healthy people, especially mentally healthy people, knows how to contribute to the community. And you guys, what you guys are doing here is a checklist na to number 4, that you are contributing to the community. And that's very good. At the end of the day, we will not just think of ourselves, but also to the people and to the society that we have. Right? Now, there are many factors bakit may mental health issues or concerns. The first one is biological factors. Genes, heredity, talagang it runs in the family. Number 2, ito ngayon yung pinakamaraming instances bakit nagkakaroon ng mental health challenges sa mga tao. It's because of the life experiences, traumas. Right? Pinakamatinding this pandemic is a life experience. My gosh, it is really a life experience. family history of mental health problems, and so on. So these contributing factors contributes to mental health issues or concerns. Now, I want to share to you some mental health numbers and studies last year or within the year. The first one is this. In America, they have this Statista, which is a study regarding symptoms of anxiety and depressive order. And that's one issue of during the pandemic, right? January 2019, as you can see there, is the yellow one. It's not that alarming. It exists, but it's not alarming. Now, let's go to the red one. May 14 to May 19, that's the height of the pandemic, right? December 9 to 21, pandemic is, you know, going down already. But as you can see there, mataas pa din. It only shows, my dear viewers, that even in a very progressive country, mental health issues are a primary concern. Now, let's go to this one. Below are, again, first world countries, very competitive and progressive countries. Unemployment and mental health. During the pandemic, a lot of people suffered from unemployment, right? That color blue signifies severe mental health problems, and the light blue is moderate mental health problems. So if you're going to compare the two, both of them are experiencing mental health problem, and it's still a lot, right? Now, for college students, 1 out of 4 college students suffer from mental illness. With the pandemic and with a lot of tasks given during this online classes, nakaka-stress kaya, right? I know, guys, what you're feeling regarding online classes, and sometimes, it's not just sometimes, it is very stressful, right? Especially that we have a very wonderful Wi-Fi connection in the Philippines that adds, right? That adds to the burden and challenge. Nakaka-stress talaga. Sobra. So imagine 1 out of 4 college students suffer from mental illness. And the sad part here is this. Only 1 in 10 for workers, also for students, may I say, is very comfortable in speaking about it. So the others, they're not comfortable. They rather keep it to themselves. At doon nagsisimula ang problema. Kapag hindi mo binabahagi. Kapag hindi mo binubuksan ang iyong sarili. Now, for the context of the Filipino people, these are the 4 common mental illnesses among Filipinos. The first one is schizophrenia. As we all know, it's more of hallucination. It can be visual hallucination, may nakikita ka, or auditory hallucination, may naririnig ka. Okay? Imagine 1% of the country's total population has this one. The second one is substance abuse. We all know that. Not just about marijuana and a lot of drugs, illegal drugs rather. Post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, tumaas sa mga Pilipino to. Nag-start to during the Mount Pinatubo eruption. So yung mga natural calamities, nagkaroon tayo ng Yolanda, and now that we have this pandemic, it added to the post-traumatic disorder. You know what? My father passed, just a simple glimpse about this PTSD. You know, my father passed away in the Philippine General Hospital, PGH. And every time I pass there, as if my heart is beating so fast. There's something, eh. There's really something to that place, no? It's something like I associate it with death. Every time I go to hospital, I associate it with death, right? And so in short, kahit hindi ka dumaan sa mga natural calamities, just nature of your life, death, diseases, and sickness, you can have this, right? The fourth one is depression. And it's just so sad that the cause of depression in the Philippines is not the climate, because sometimes climate can also cause that, but the poor socioeconomic status, leading to 2,558 committed suicide, right? And I do hope it's not in our nature. We Filipinos are very happy people, eh. And having this one is quite alarming, no? Now, I'm not a fan of PBB, pero I started to become one when I heard this kid. It was in day 6 when he confessed and his housemates observed that KD, the name of this kid, is experiencing something, no? Medyo ano siya, ramdam mo talaga yung mental health challenges niya. Aloof siya sa tao, right? Very emotional. Yes, ramdam na ramdam mo. Pero imagine, after day 24, this beautiful young lady, Alexa, na oh my gosh, ang perfect niya na, sir, ah. Ang ganda-ganda niya, sikat siya. Meron din pala siyang dinadamdam. She hates herself. Ayaw niya, kasi ang feeling niya mataba siya. Oh my gosh, kung mataba ka, Alexa, what more ako? So, you see, right? Do we laugh regarding their situation? No. Do we pity them? No. It's also an opportunity for us to know that it exists. Regardless of how beautiful you are, how good looking you are, it exists. Okay? Now, this is the spectrum or the continuing model of healthy, mindful and healthy mental health. We have the color green, which is healthy. Please take note, normal fluctuations in moods. So minsan, normal lang daw na minsan nagbabago ka. Halimbawa, masaya ka, and then, syempre, kapag may pangit na mangyari, hindi ka magiging masaya. Kasi yung iba sa atin, we tend to overlabel. Oh my gosh, bipolar siya. Nagpapalit siya ng emotions. No, we tend to overlabel. And sometimes, we tend to underlabel. Wala yan. Normal lang yan. Nalulungkot ka, normal lang yan. Right? So, reacting sometimes, we are in this stage, sadness, overwhelm, sarcasm, procrastination, low energy, muscle tension. Those are reacting in the continuum model. Injured, but there's still a chance for healing, is anxiety, anger, tearfulness, worthlessness. Yung feeling mo wala kang silbi sa lipunan or sa kinabibilangan mo. And the last one is ill. And this needs to seek professional care and to follow recommendations. Sometimes they really need psychiatrists and so on. Now, what can we do? Halimbawa, sir, paano kung tayo, sinasabi mo, sir, na sometimes nagiging, kung sa continuum, pwede tayo maging healthy, maging reacting, what can we do as individuals? Remember that we're all prone to mental health issues. The number one is, this is very important, sleep well. I'll be showing some studies, no? Sufficient sleep facilitates the brain processing of emotional information, and lack of sleep is especially harmful to consolidation of positive emotional content. Anak, gawin na nating simple. Sabi sa sneakers, you're not you when you're hungry, right? Pero, you're not you also kapag puyat ka. Hindi nyo napansin? Mainitin ang ulo nyo, right? Wala ka sa focus, di ba? Kasi, na-deprive ng tulog ang iyong sarili. Now, there's a cycle eh. Tignan nyo to. Lack of sleep will go to tiredness. Mabilis ka mapagod. Tiredness, difficulty coping with daily life. You cannot do your daily life activities. With that, you cannot do low self-esteem. And then feeling of worries and stress. And it becomes a cycle. You see the impact of lack of sleep? We tend to devalue the value of sleep. Eh? Pero nowadays, my dear students, there's a study about sleep. No, meron na talaga nag-study ng sleep. May research na talaga about sleep. Because they value now the importance of this human activity. Now, for kids, if they're not getting enough sleep, this will happen. Impulse control issues, risk of anxiety, aggression, risk of depression, and concentration problems. I think we all experience this wherein meron tayong task sa college or meron tayong task sa school and then nagpuyat tayo. Ito nangyayari, nararanasan natin to. We're all examples of this, right? So sleep well. Sir, how do we do that? Things to avoid: heavy food, blue lights, alcohol, hard training, and stress. and even coffee, and of course coffee. How to have a healthy sleep? Same time, dapat may process ka. Dapat yan ay routine, comfortable bed. Bedtime routines, bakit? Parang katawan mo ay nawawire yung utak mo na, mapatutulog na to. You know what? In my case, like for instance, how can I tell to myself na I should stop eating? After I eat, talaga magbabrush ako tsaka magagargle ako. So bitter yung panlasa ko, right? That way, I program myself na kapag tapos ko kumain, no snacks. Because ang bitter ng panlasa ko. Remember that you can also train yourself. You can also train yourself. Okay? Next, cool and dark room. That's also a thing for us to remember. Evening walks. Kapag daw hindi ka nakakatulog at papalit-palit ka ng pwesto, tayo ka daw muna. You stand. And then you go to another room and then balik ka. Okay? And maligo. Sabi, it can help. But sometimes, no, wag na ako matulog, mag-review muna ako. I hope this is a reminder for each and everyone that we need to value things, especially sleeping. Another part in the physical aspect that we can do is to eat healthy. They say that your gastrointestinal tract, often called as the second brain. Why so? Because remember, what you eat is connected to your health. It can affect your health, right? And if your physical health is not okay, so as your mental health, mag-iisip ka, madedepress ka, right? And the nutrients from the food that you're eating will go to your brain. Big no-no for brain from the American Dietetic Association is sugar and processed food. No, you try that. You know what? I tried that. I've been doing that for 28 days already. No sugar, no desserts. And I'm very, very proud of myself because every time I eat kasi I'm really looking for a cake. I really love cake. Pero I realized after I stopped eating sugary food, milk tea, I stopped drinking milk tea. Yung inflammation sa mga acne na wala. No, there's a physical, and yung rush, feeling mo na kailangan gawin mo lahat. Tapos biglang bababa agad yung energy. So those are the effects. Now, these are the food for mood. Almond is considered as a brain power food. Banana raises serotonin. Cayenne pepper fight depression or any siling labuyo. Chocolate, but not too much. Increase pleasant or happiness, happy hormones. Green tea, anxiety. This is very true. Every time I'm stressed out, I need to drink tea. Okay? And so on. Right? So, the food that you eat define who you are, my dear. Remember that. And sometimes, the food that we eat, wala kang dapat sisihin, sir, si mama ang nagluluto. No, it's still your choice. Remember that, if you will eat it or not. Right? And I do bet that your parents will not cook food na hindi healthy para sa inyo. Wala naman sigurong parent na magsabing, araw-araw tayong mag-burger. Wala naman sigurong ganon. Balance is the key to life. Another one is exercise. This is, to be honest, this is very important. I always start my day with a walking exercise just in my house. No, hindi ako lumalabas. Zumba, dance. And it releases talaga happy hormones. And you get focused more, lalo kapag after mo maligo. Research shows from Australian Mental Health Organization regularly have better mental health and emotional well-being. It lowers the chances of you having mental illnesses. So these are the positive effect of exercise. Reduce stress level, increase confidence, improve sleep. Totoo kasi pagod ka eh. Talaga matutulog ka na. Right? Increase mood, reduce anxiety, reduce depression, increase well-being as well. And of course, physically speaking, you become healthy. All right? Now, let's go to mental. Okay, I'm not saying that you go to mental hospital or what, pero when we say the mental aspect, what can we do? Challenge negative thoughts, mga anak. I know for a fact that sometimes we become the monsters of our own without ourselves. we are so pessimistic na ayoko, baka ganito. Now, negative attitudes, the body hormones balance depletes the brain chemicals required for happiness. Totoo naman din. Alam mo yan, saya-saya mo, nanalo ka, ay naku, baka meron akong ganong friend na sabihin niya, may maganda nangyari sa kanya. Sabi niya sa akin, natatakot ako kasi baka may susunod na mangyaring masama. Alam mo yon, balance of yin and yang. And then, you see, totoo itong sinabi ng University of Minnesota na it depletes the happiness. Nawawala yung happiness because you focus more on the negative thing that will happen. Again, it's okay to balance. Thinking negative, thinking positive. But you also need to be realistic. Now, what should you avoid? Avoid the word I should. I should. Sir, hindi naman ako negative, pero lagi mo sinasabi, I should. I should eat this because, you know, you eat that already. No? You start to be confident in your decision. Okay? I should do this because you do it. Identify if it's a negative thought. I think the first thing that you need to do is, kailangan mo yung admit sa sarili mo kung pessimistic ka ba. If you are that person who thinks negatively, and ask someone, Uy, Shayenne, negative thinker ba ako? Right? If you cannot assess or evaluate yourself, ask someone. And true friends will tell you kung ano talaga. Okay? Now this one, no, how are we going to cope up with negative comments or negative thoughts online? So pwede ring limit screen time. Kasi usually, ako no, during the pandemic, hindi ako nagbukas ng television. I need to help myself. Nai-stress ako kapag nakarinig ako ng COVID cases 19, COVID-19, tumaas na naman, nai-stress ako. So, hindi ko binuksan ng TV, hindi ako nanood ng news. We need to unlearn how to unplug. Kapag umiinit na ang isang appliance, minsan nakasaksak siya ng matagal sa plug. Unplug. Cool down. Right? Relax. There is a reality. I know that. Sir, may COVID-19 eh. Yes, there is a reality. Pero wag mo yakapin ang hindi mo kaya. Okay? You need to hug yourself first before you hug the reality. Okay? Next. Another mental is get professional help if you really need that. Sometimes we have friends. Yes, friends do love us, but the question is that a good suggestion from a friend? No? We have this crisis hotline. Please take note of this, mga anak. It's a free hotline. You can use it, 0917-899-USAP from DOH, 989-USAP from DOH again. Confidently share your mental health problems and challenges, and psychiatrists, psychologists will happily talk to you. Okay? In the case of the Philippines, we're so happy and proud that we already have the Republic Act 11036 last June 21, 2018. We're in. Sinasama na sa general healthcare system ng bansa ang mental health. No? Gone are the days that we think na kapag may mental health problem ang isang tao, nasa mental hospital agad. Right? People who are suffering from these mental health issues can be your friend, can be your family member, and it can be you, right? And sometimes we're not aware of it. In the social aspect naman, there is what we call social health, another new term, social health. You need to connect with others. No man is an island. With the use of technology, mga anak, we have a lot of ways. Naturally speaking, we are social animals. Alam mo yon, gusto natin nakikipag-usap sa iba. Huwag mong hayaan na yung isang araw mo wala kang kinausap. Kasi even yung Facebook mo, hindi ka nakikipag-usap doon. You're just watching them. You're becoming introverted via social media. These social medias made us unsociable. Right? We rather check our screens, our cell phones, rather than go out and eat with the family or with friends, right? What I do sometimes after a very busy day, I try to call my friends. We're having, video call. It helps. Supporting one another with this pandemic, right? Be approachable. Try new things. Stop judging or blaming. Even you can, like, for instance, I have students, what they do is they watch Netflix together via Zoom. Why not? Right? Use the technology to socialize. Okay. Now, what can you do to help? This is the question now. Ano ang parte mo? Sir, hindi po ako, wala po akong problem sa mental health. Okay, that's very good. Congratulations. But it exists. There are people na merong ganito. So what can you do to help? I remember, I want to share a story. I remember, my sister, bumili siya ng coffee maker and ako super excited ako. I don't drink coffee. And alam mo yung, ang tawag doon, mga bala-bala, yung mga may flavor siya. So, nilagay ko na doon. Sabi ko, ako mauuna. Nilagay ko, sinaksa ko na, inon ko na. Hala, ang ganda, ang bango. Pero tumapon siya. Kasi, I forgot the cup. Na sobrang excitement ko, excited ko, na nakalimutan ko yung cup. Alam mo yun, minsan ganun tayo. I forgot the cup, which is the most important thing. And let's apply it to real life. My dear students, my dear viewers, let us not forget the cup of life, which is not the medals, academic achievement, right? It's not about the many likes in social media. The cup of life is being happy, being healthy, right? And at the end of the day, mga anak, the cup of life is when you contribute something, not just to the community, but maybe to the other people. You make an impact. You made an impact, right? So do not forget the cup. What is the most important thing for you? Remember this. At the end of the day, mga anak, I always tell to my students na aanin mo ang mga academic achievement kung napapabayaan mo ang sarili mo, ang pamilya mo, at ang pakikipagkapwa mo. Right? So do not forget the cup. Now, another one is this. You have your subject in senior high school, which is academic listening, right? Or writing and so on. We all know what's the difference about hearing and listening, right? So when we say hearing, it's just recognition of sounds. And when we say listening, for me, I illustrate it with this one. It involves the heart, mga anak. No matter may mental health issues siya or wala, offer a listening heart. In this society, everybody wants to talk and nobody wants to listen. Sa totoo lang. Right? Or nobody wants to listen because we're all busy. And that's the sad part there. When we listen with the heart, we see people without judgment. When we listen and open our heart, we accept that person kung ano siya. At kung anong kinikwento niya. Sir, wala namang kwento yung kinikwento niya. Even if you listen to them. Because one thing, baka may matutunan ka sa kanila. Now, another one is this. I would like to compare. We're all hyped with Heidelin Diaz, right? A predominantly masculine sport won by a female, right? And the first gold in the Philippines. Let's make her as a metaphor for today. You will be like Heidelin. And the dumbbells maybe are your family, your school, expectation, challenges, and COVID. Regardless you have mental health issues or you don't have, mga anak, always remember that every day of your life, right now in this pandemic, you are a gold Olympian already. The mere fact that you're attending here and you're wearing a smile, you are an Olympic medalist already. Why so? Kinakaya mo at kakayanin mo. Sir, okay lang bang umiyak? Of course. Umiyak ka. Sir, di ba pangit na umiyak? Hindi pangit ang umiiyak. Dahil tao ka pag umiiyak ka. Dahil hindi normal sa isang tao na umiiyak ka at tinatago mo yung emosyon mo. Acknowledge your emotion. Validate your feeling. Matatapos itong pandemyang to, we're so hopeful. And up your back. My gosh, hindi ka nagka-COVID. Or kung nagka-COVID ka man, my gosh, buhay ka pa. Right? Sometimes, ewan ko, pero kinakausap ko yung sarili ko. In my workplace, I have a mirror. Mirror is very important for me, not because I want to fix myself, but because I want to, look at myself right now and talk to that person, and then I will tell, today, busy ka. And I always tell to myself na, have a listening heart. Open your heart. And tandaan niyo mga anak, nakakapagod ang buhay. Pwedeng mapagod, pero bawal sumuko. Iba kapag napagod ka, iba kapag sumuko ka na. Tandaan niyo yun. Learn to unplug kapag mainit na. And plug again kapag kaya mo na. Okay? Now, going back here, I want to end my sharing from this takeaways. Sabi dito, una kong takeaway sa inyo, understand equals help. What you are doing right now is understanding what mental health is. And now, the challenge is how are you going to help? Remember this, mga anak. You cannot give what you do not have. Right? You cannot help if you do not understand the problem itself. The first thing that you need to do, sir, gusto kong tumulong, then understand. Number 2 is this. If you want to help, don't just share. You give. What's the difference, sir? Pag sharing, naalala ko yung mga estudyante ko pa sina Bien, sina Chloe at sina Shayenne. Pag nagpapatest ako, get 1/4 sheet. Alalabas ng 1 whole. Hatiin nila yung 1 whole sa 4. Nag-sharing silang 4. But when you give, ibibigay mo na sa kanila ng buo. Walang matitira sa'yo. So when you give, it hurts more, mga anak. Because wala kang tinitira sa sarili mo. Minsan, abonado ka pa. Right? Minsan, when you give, it's not just about material things. Your time. Kapag nakinig ka sa taong may mental health problem, you're already giving your time. Nagpapayo ka, you're giving your expertise. Right? So don't just share. You give. That's very important. The third one is this. Focus on the mission, not in the commission and consummation. Minsan nakakapagod, nakakainis din makinig ng problema ng ibang tao. Alam mo yun? Paulit-ulit ka na lang, sir, nag-break kami. Pang ilang break mo yan, pang 7 mo na yan. Diba? O kaya you will take the commission na, makikinig ako dito kasi may mapapala ako. You focus on the mission. That you're helping to change the world one person at a time. Para kapag kinestyon ka ng mga tao, anong ambag mo sa lipunan na to? May ambag ka sa isang tao. At yung tao na yun may ambag sa lipunan din. It will become a domino effect. If only people knows how to understand rather than to be understood, this will be a better world. The last one is this. Have a listening heart and a loving eyes. A lot of mental health seminars has been done. Pero bakit ganon? Nakikinig ka, pero the question is, do you see that person as a person na may mental health or a normal person lang? Huwag mo siyang i-judge. May pinagdadaanan siya. Tulungan mo siya. Unawain mo siya. Okay? And siguro, this is our last quotation for today. You don't need to be perfect to inspire others. Remember that. Let people get inspired by how you deal with your imperfections. Walang taong perfecto. There's no such thing as a perfect person. But we all make progress. And today, you're all making progress that you're being part of the mental health advocacy. Again, thank you so much, everyone. And please, do not forget the cup, my dear students. Let's help people. Let's help our nation. Let's help everyone to have a listening heart and a loving eyes. Thank you so much.
Sir Arevalo keeps proving his excellence as a teacher. As someone who plans to take up psychology in college, I firmly believe in seeking help from professionals. Sure, you have your support systems, but your friends and family are not the professional help you think you need. It is only so long until we stop coping, especially in this pandemic, where we are not only isolated at home, but we are also isolated with our thoughts. So there really is no shame in seeking help. If you are still uncomfortable with opening this topic up to your parents, you can always call the mental health hotline. I have a friend who has tried it already. Or schedule a session with your guidance counselor since it is their job. Feel free to send your questions in the chat box or use the raise hand function to ask him directly. We have a question from Bien.
All right, Bien, go.
Sir, I just want to ask, parang, how do you help someone who doesn't want to be helped, but you know that they need it and they just haven't realized it yet?
Oh, that's a very nice question. Paano mo tutulungan ng taong ayaw magpatulong? Number one is this. You ask yourself first, do you really want to help that person? That's the first question. Eh? If you answered yes, then you will do everything in your powers to help that person. Now, the thing about that is that when you help other people, you need to admit if you can help that person or you can't. So what are you going to do? You refer that person. We call it referral. Maybe you can refer it to guidance counselor. And then the guidance counselor, because that person has authority, kaya niya. Kaya niyang ipatawag, right? Yan, that's very natural for all people. We have this tendency kasi na we want to be strong. We want to be independent. Pero a reminder for each and every one of you, tao ka din. You have your limitations. You have your weaknesses, right? And not admitting that you have weaknesses is a weakness itself. Remember that, right? Kapag hindi mo ina-admit sa sarili mo na may kahinaan ka, yun ang pinakamalaking kahinaan mo. Ang hindi mo kayang i-admit na mahina ka o may hindi ka kayang gawin. Now, with that, na-refer mo na siya, and then let the process go now. And then from the guidance counselor, magkakaroon pa ng ibang referrals and everything. Pero para sa akin, if that person really don't want to open up, just be a good friend to that person. Support that person in little things that you can. Big or small things, it really matters. No? I remember during college, I have this classmate na very aloof siya sa mga tao. Umiiwas siya sa amin. And then all of a sudden, I have this messianic complex na gusto ko siyang tulungan, gusto kong makilala tong taon to. Pero it's not like that. It's not easy. Hindi lahat ng tao kasi willing na tulungan sila. They want to fight on their own. No? And sometimes also, Bien, if things na ayaw talaga, we need to respect the decision of that person. No? There's a line of demarcation na stop ka na. Kasi ayaw niya talaga. Pero you can refer. The best thing that you can do kung ayaw talaga, you refer the person.
That ends our question and answer segment with Sir Arevalo. Thank you, Sir Arevalo. For the significant value they have provided to TULUMONSTERS Incorporated, we would like to award this certificate of appreciation to Ms. Leanne Winnet Donguines. A game sounds fun right about now, doesn't it? If you wish to participate, simply use the chat box or the raise hand function. For round 1, bring me a selfie of you subscribed to Tulumanon's YouTube channel. Go, guys! Please raise your hand and turn on your camera so you may show us your selfie. Quinn, show us your selfie. Yes, our first point goes to Quinn. For round two, send the link in the chat box of the Tulumanon video with bricks in its thumbnail. Which Tulumanon video has bricks in its thumbnail? For those who are not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, go subscribe now while you look for the Tulumanon video that has bricks in its thumbnail. We have an answer from Marika. And it is correct. The video that has bricks in its thumbnail is our Asian hate video. For round 3, we have 2 truths and a lie. What a tongue twister. A. Tulumanon has only one media department member. B. The inspiration for this month-long project is Monsters, Inc. C. The colors of the August 2021 update are red, yellow, and blue. Which one is the lie? A, B, or C? A. Tulumanon has only one media department member. B. The inspiration for this month-long project is Monsters, Inc. C. The colors of the August 2021 update are red, yellow, and blue. You may raise your hand to say the answer or send it in the chat box. Again, which is the lie? A. Tulumanon has only one media department member. B. The inspiration for this month-long project is Monsters, Inc. Or C. The colors of the August 2021 update are red, yellow, and blue. Marika's answer is A. Are there any more answers? C. Quinn got it correct. As the sole media department member, the colors of the August 2021 update are not red, yellow, and blue, but black, purple, orange, yellow, and green. The answer is C. For round 4, we have another 2 truths and 1 lie. A. Tulumanon has never missed an upload since February 14, 2020, Valentine's Day. B. Tulumanon has 161 subscribers. And C. Tulumanon's third kaakbay is Kaligaya, Philippines. Again, A. Tulumanon has never missed an upload since February 14, 2020. B. Tulumanon has 161 subscribers. C. Tulumanon's third kaakbay is Kaligaya, Philippines. There's a correction. This is 2 lies and 1 truth. I'm so sorry. Which one is the truth? The answer is A. Quinn got it correctly again. Tulumanon has never missed an upload since February 14, 2020. Our third kaakbay is not Kaligaya Philippines, but Pagsibol. And for our last and fifth round, type the full names of Jose Rizal. Kidding. Type the full names of Tulumanon's partners for TULUMONSTERS Inc.
Recording
Go!
stop. Recording in progress.
Which two organizations are Tulumanon's partners for TULUMONSTERS Inc.? Complete name of both. Graciela party list is incorrect. The full name. What does CKSCSHS stand for, Marika? To our so-called keyboard warriors, this is your chance. What does CKSCSHS stand for? The Chiang Kai-shek College High School Student Council. One word is missing. That's CKSCHS. The Chiang Kai-shek College Senior High School Student Council. That is correct. Marika gets the point. May I ask someone to tally the points? We have 2 winners. Congratulations to ticket number 1003 and ticket number 1024. Please expect an email from us on your well-deserved prize soon. Congratulations! As we near the end of our event, may I call on Tulumanon's Executive Supervisor, Ms. Shayenne Danielle Lim, to deliver the closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Chloe. We have reached the end of this memorable event. With the help of our speakers, Tulumanon's webinars under TULUMONSTERS Inc. have opened our minds with managing various mental health and impeding gender-based violence at once. There is indeed plenty to reflect upon and think about. Again, we would like to express our appreciation to the speakers, Ms. Leanne Donguines and Mr. Mark Arevalo, who grace us with their time and knowledge. Our partners, the Graciela Collective and Chiang Kai-shek College Senior High School Student Council, for their trust. The people behind Tulumanon, our Manonood, Tulumadla, and especially our Tulumangha, for their continuous support and hard work. It is bittersweet to say our goodbyes for now. However, know that our doors will never be closed. This is only the first of many upcoming annual celebrations. With more to come, Tulumanon knows you will always be there. Thank you.
Tulumanon is beyond grateful to have every one of you here today. As the scaring does not stop, the caring does not too. Should you wish to join Tulumanon in their mission, you may scan the QR code presented on the screen or click the link in the chat box to apply. Please don't forget to fill out the evaluation form as well. Again, please scan the QR code presented on the screen or click the link in the chat box.
Ano kasi ang hina?
This has been your host, Chloe Emil Velasco, and we hope to see you in our next 2319. Boo! Once again, please don't forget to fill out the evaluation form. Thank you for attending our 2319.
Thank you, everyone.